Greetings, everyone. Your cartoonist pal Stan here for another episode of Random Encounters, the show where I use random encounter tables like the kind you find in tabletop role-playing games, such as Dungeons & Dragons. And I use them to randomly select a who and a what. I put those two together, and I draw them as a cartoon for your entertainment and for mine. The big point of this show is entertainment. Drawing is fun. It's fun for me. Fun. I mean, if you're watching this, it's fun for you to watch. I bet it'd even be fun if you did some drawing yourself. What do you think? Maybe? Grab a pen, grab a paper, grab a pad, a notebook, grab your favorite drawing, electronic drawing instrument. I happen to use an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil and the app Procreate. None of which sponsor this show at all. I just use them because I like them. That's what I use in my personal and professional life. So I use it here for the show too. I'm not sure why that wire was quite as taut as it was. Anyway, we are here this week. Usually, I'm here on a Thursday night. But it's only Tuesday. Only matters if you're watching live. But I'm here because this Thursday is the 4th of July, which is a holiday, which means I'm not going to be sitting here at my computer. I'm going to be somewhere having some barbecue and hanging out with friends and having a little Independence Day celebration. So I wanted to, but that's it, not that so, but I like doing, last year I did a 4th of July special, and I wanted to do one this year too. And so the only way to do that is to record it a little early, and that's what we're doing here today. Hello, Dale. Thank you for stopping by, saying hi. Hope things are going well for you. Yes. So as you probably saw in the opening little screen, this is our 4th of July special, Random Encounters 4th of July special. Last year I drew something that was a little more colonial and Revolutionary War. This year I was trying to think of a drawing to go with the 4th of July, and the hot dog eating is what came to mind. I like how that one turned out, though. Anyway, I'm now going to get my little pad here set so that you can see that these are our encounters. Now, usually when I do a themed show like this, I cut back the number of options to 4 instead of 6 because we're only going to use 3 of them anyway. I always found that it was when I first did a show like this. I'm going to cut back out of here and come back just us on the street, just between us. When I first did a show like this, it was 3 or 4 years ago during the last Summer Olympics when I created who and what encounter tables for doing what turned out to be my book, Creatures and Competitions. And I rolled a creature from fantasy and an Olympic sport each day. I streamed live while I did it, and I drew them. And I wound up kickstarting that and getting this nifty little book out of it. But I did the encounter tables were I did them the way I would for an actual game. So I used a D20. I used a 20-sided die, and there were 20 choices. And so that meant that, and each time I used one, I replaced it. So rather, like when we do it here, if I re-roll the same number, I've only got this choice, and we wind up figuring out between us, me and you there in the audience, we figure out what it'll be, improv style. But for the Olympics one, I replaced each day, whatever I rolled, I replaced with a different entry. So when we finished, I had a 20-piece, a 20-step encounter table with 19 that would never get used because that was the end of the show. And it kind of bummed me out. So that's why no, not percentile. That would have been crazy. No, it's only 20. So when I started doing this show, I decided I'd cut it down to 6 because that cycles them through more quickly. When I did the 20, there were things that actually sat on that encounter table for the entire month. Creatures and events that I was like, ooh, it'd be fun to draw this. And they never came up. And that bummed me out a little. So when I got started doing this show, I cut it down to 6, and that way they cycle through a lot quicker. There's never been anything on that list that I wanted to do that the dice didn't get to eventually over the course of a couple of episodes. So when we come to these special ones, I cut that back even further to 4 because this list is not going to hang around after this show. We've got Umber, Hulk, Ogre, Tortle, and Myconid on our Who's, and the Spirit of 76, Barbecue Grilling Out, Statue of Liberty, and signing the Declaration of Independence. Maybe Barbecue Grilling Out might stick around a little past this. Maybe the Statue of Liberty would appear somewhere else. Maybe, I don't know, around Labor Day, somewhere like that. But for the show, we've just got the 4. Hello, Cindy. Hello, Becky. Hello, Dave. It's nice to see everyone here. As I can see, you all are, most of you are coming from my newly restored, well, not restored, my new YouTube channel. The whole problems that I had with the YouTube channel, the old channel, really don't look like they're going to get fixed. So I have created a new YouTube channel. If you are watching this video somewhere else, well then you want to go find my new YouTube channel. I probably should have made an overlay for that so I could flash it up on the screen. My new username is The Real Stanex on YouTube. But there you go. All right, enough of my blather. Let's do some drawing, shall we? So let's come in here, and I will now grab my pad and come over, and we are going to roll. We've got a D4 here, you see. Nice little triangular D4. We're going to roll this for a who and roll it for a what, and we're going to go from there. So here we go. We're going to go once, twice, a third time, and 2. 2 is our first who, and once, twice, a third time, 3. 3 is our first what. So let's see what that gets us here. That's a 2 is an ogre, and 3 is an ogre. Statue of Liberty is our first drawing for the day. So we're going to turn that one off, turn that one on, make sure I've got the right brush, and we're going to start sketching. I do my sketching with the in blue, which is a callback to my days back when I was using physical media. It was just a thing that back in the day when you had to draw something and then it had to be photo reproduced. There was the reproduction methods they used did not pick up blue very well, so a lot of cartoonists would do their drawings in what's called non-reproductive blue. And that way we didn't have to erase things quite as thoroughly as we would otherwise have to. Okay, so here we go. Got a good start on an ogre Statue of Liberty. And alright, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with the ogre's features. I don't want them to be too like ordinary human. I like to draw ogres with little bitty eyes. go. That. That's looking okay. As a start for that. Okay, so I'm going to grab that and make it bigger so it fills up the page a little more. And we're going to draw an ogre, Statue of Liberty. Now, there's a little ping. I don't know if you heard that ping. Just need to see what's going on in case it's anything important. Not anything that needs my immediate attention, so I'm back. You're trying to find me on YouTube. Okay, so on YouTube, I don't know if I can I type into the chat? I cannot. Well, all one word, no spaces. The Real Stanex, STANNEX. If you go to youtube.com/@ The Real Stanex, that should take you to my channel. Otherwise, I should check. I may not have updated the show notes. The show notes should have it. Otherwise, you may have to just wait till last time. Or wait till next time. Wait till last time. Let's go in the past. Alright, here we go. We are drawing an ogre. It still looks too human for me. So you know what? Well, I'm not going to draw yet. I'm going to fix that sketch. Something about this needs to change so he looks less just like a... There we go. It's the nose. If I change the nose, get rid of the... That'll do it. That'll do it. I don't know how big a difference that makes to you. What you guys are seeing in the sketch makes a big difference to me. Oh, apparently Linnea found me both on Facebook and on YouTube. Amy did too! Woohoo! It's for real. It's really happening. I'm a real YouTube boy again. Okay, so that brush is setting way too large. Here we go. So start with a line I'm confident in. Interestingly enough, for this ogre, that's his big jowl there. Draw like that. And our Statue of Liberty ogre is coming together pretty nicely for a start here. Here, I'm going to do this and that. Again, one of the beauties of working digitally is that I can so easily get rid of lines. When I'm working in physical media, of course, I can't. It's harder to get rid of lines once they're put down. So I'm a little more precious. I'm a little more careful about where I put things to begin with. And I do much more thorough sketches. But and I really like it for this show. The drawing digitally definitely helps out in my being able to stay loose and impromptu. Okay. And we'll go to the arm next. And we're going to do this. I don't know how many of you know this, but I come from the New York metro area. That's where I grew up. So I'm very familiar with the Statue of Liberty, which has two effects. One is that I feel very comfortable just doing sketches of it. It's like, oh, I don't need to look anything up. I don't need reference. I know how that works. This other side effect is that, and this happens on a lot of things, that I feel so confident that I don't need to look it up. Turns out I'm wrong about some things. you know, familiarity breeds contempt. The saying. I think familiarity for artists often breeds mistakes. Familiarity breeds sloppy errors. All right. And we're going to come here. And now I want our Statue of Liberty Ogre to be holding, instead of the plaque, he's holding a DMG. Dungeon Master's Guide for those who may not know. And there we go. We will now come in and put some of these on to show that the gown is stretching to cover the size of our ogre. So I've done a few drawings in the past couple of months that have ogres in them for a project I'm working on that I actually can't talk about. I'm under NDA for. And I look at this and it's reminding me that I like to do them with these big meaty hands and feet and tiny little fingers. And I mess that up here with the hands. I went for regular hands. I'm going to come back and fix that. Get rid of that DMG. It's not going to be so hard here on the book, but it's going to mean a little bit of redrawing for the over on the torch side. I think that's part of making them look big and doofy and ogre-y. Alright, so let's get rid of that, all that there. Again, thank goodness we're working in a digital medium. Because that makes this whole thing easier. Need to change that. There we go. That's not looking right, but we can fix that too. A lot of these, as I often say, right? You don't worry about if you get it wrong the first time. Just erase and do it again. There we go. And we've got an ogre hold the Statue of Liberty. I can come back here and put on DMG for the book that he's holding. He, she is holding. They are holding. Ogre says, just popped in to say hi. Thank you, Ogre, if I missed you. Thank you for popping in. Hope you have a good Independence Day. All right, so let's turn the sketch lines off, see what we've got here, see what I might want to add to just make sure that this reads as well as it can. It's looking pretty good, though. Add a little bit here and there. That's looking all right. Let's do some coloring. I'm going to go to the colors layer, and I'm going to change my brush, as I generally do, to the gloaming, which gets me the crayon-y, markery effect that lets me do this loose kind of coloring, where I'm doing coloring shapes within shapes, finding the shapes within the shape. And so that's a shape, and that's a shape, that's a shape, and that's a shape. And that didn't work out so good. I think this is all one big shape here. And that gives that feeling of a little extra depth and texture. And it just makes the whole drawing seem a little more, it gives your finished piece an extra bit of flair. There we go. Looking pretty good. Now I want to come and get a green, appropriate green. I'm looking over here. I think that might be it. Let's see. Let's try that out. No, I don't like that. That's closer. There we go. I like that one. Okay. That's the green we're going to use. And again, you can see that I'm doing, you can see where I'm finding the shapes within the shape. I'm following each of those folds is its own shape in the gown. Okay. And I think I want to take that green and just make it a little different for the book. That's looking okay. Looking pretty good. So now we will do the other thing, which I talk about, to add a little extra shading, just to do even one step more for making this piece feel like it's got a sense of depth and shape. And then I'm going to take a darker color, darker version of the color, and I'm going to go along the bottom edge of the shapes. This is kind of like shadows. I know I've said this a bunch too. Shadows don't really work exactly like this, but they work something like this, and particularly on a piece where we're doing loose coloring, it's got a very shadowy feel. that. Looking good there. Underneath that shadow and along the bottom. Good. Now do the same thing for the gown. I'm going to grab that color and get a darker version of it. Usually, if you're using this color wheel kind of thing, you grab the color and pull down and to the right a little bit, and you get the color you're looking for. I'm going to find actually on the fold, which is where the shadow would be. That's where I'm going to put those. And at the bottom. Anywhere there's likely to be a shadow. Oop. There we go. And I think, oh, we're going to do the flame too, aren't we? It's not really a flame if you've ever seen, you know the Statue of Liberty doesn't hold a real flame. It's actually made of glass. What am I missing here? What am I missing here? I want to run over that a little too much. And I want to... So this looks fine. What's drawing my attention... Here's what's drawing my attention here. Is everything has a little color and a little shape, except those teeth, which are just white. Which, kind of fine, but... What if we... just add a little gray... Oh, make that smaller. A little bit of gray... So that, again, just gives it that, like, you can't see that very much. Looking at it that size, if I mention it to you, you wouldn't notice that. But I think that when there wasn't anything there, the pure white stood out. And so, very often what you're trying to do is to make the person that's looking at your drawing both two things you're trying to do. You're trying to make them look where you want them to look, and you're going to want to make sure they don't look at some place that you don't want them to, because whatever draws their eye is going to seem important to them. So when those teeth were just white, I think it was drawing the eye too much. And it's not like the teeth particularly needed detail for their own sake. But by adding that little splash of brownish color on there, it made them fade back enough that they no longer are drawing the eye. So, looking good. I'm going to come back to my inking brush, and I will come down here, put my stand on it, and I will say we have an Ogre Statue of Liberty for our first drawing. Done. Woohoo! That means I get to stop and have a little sip of my soda. Oh! Okay, see, Amy got it, Linnea got it, everyone who wanted to has found the new YouTube channel, which is good. I'm going to be making a post on my Facebook and other places in the next, either tonight or tomorrow, to really kind of tell people, okay, it's here, new Facebook channel's up, thank you for waiting, please come and hit subscribe. I've got to go back to the, hey, are you enjoying what you're watching? Well, it would really help me out if you just took a second and click that little subscribe button on the YouTube. You watch it on YouTube, click the subscribe button. And while you're there, maybe give me a like, a thumbs up, or a heart. Wherever you're watching, these things help. Certainly they make me feel good about myself, which is not a terrible thing. But the thing it really helps is tell the platform, wherever you're watching, that this is a show that it's not just happening, that you're interacting with it, that it's drawing your interaction, and therefore it's something that other viewers might want to see too. And it helps me to get more people to come watch the show with us, which, more people, better for everyone. But all right, better for me. But if I'm happier, I'll make you happier. That's just how life goes. All right, so there we go. That is our Statue of Liberty Ogre. And so it's time to turn off round 1 and turn on round 2. Turn back on our random encounter tables. I need another sip. And let's go. Let's come here and we will look at what we've got time to roll. Our second random encounter prompt of the evening. So, all right, we're going to once, twice, third time. One is our who. One is our who, and once, twice, third time. Two is our what. So let's see what that gets us when we come back here. That is an Umber Hulk barbecue grilling out. Okay, all right. Umber Hulk. So those of you who are not D&D aficionados, Umber Hulk, I've drawn them a few times on the show over the last year. They are these giant Hulk. They're big hulking insectoid creatures. And you'll see more of them in a second as I start to sketch. But that'll give you an idea. We've got a giant hulking insectoid creature having a barbecue. So, in fact, I'll do a very quick sketch up here. They've got a big body and a little head with mandibles. They've actually got, one of the interesting things about them, they've got 4 eyes. But I very much like so one of the weird things about Dungeons and Dragons is that over the years, the monsters have changed in what they look like. As in different eras, they've been redesigned to have a fresher look. So I've always liked this very insectoid Umber Hulk look. There's a rough idea of what they look like. I know that's very sketchy, and some of you may not be able to see exactly what I've got there. But I feel better for having shown it to you. Alright, so let's clear the layer, and now we're going to come back and we're going to draw an Umber Hulk. One of those guys. What did the Umber Hulk make Speedies out of? I have a feeling that you have a dad joke answer to that. I'm trying to think if I can figure out what it is before you tell me. So, for those who don't know, Dave Lemons, friend of mine, we met when we were both living in the Binghamton, New York area, and Speedies are a local cuisine. It is cubed, usually pork meat, marinated and grilled, and they are delicious. Oh, Speedies are so good, and a lot of areas have their own versions of kebabs or skewered meat. And this is that region's one. It's so good, though. Speedies are awesome. So, Dave, tell me, what did the Umber Hulk make Speedies out of? Or are you hoping I'm going to use that for my drawing and figure it out? All right, so here we go. Umber Hulk, big body. Like so. I'm going to have a barbecue here. Now, one of the things that Umber Hulks do, in the game, is they cause confusion, which I've used that as a hook for gags a few times. Not quite sure if I've got a gag here for quickling. Okay. Alright, so there we go. Got the Umber Hulk. Again, I don't know if this is we can call this a theme for the evening, but this is another creature that, when drawn in this format, has large, beefy palms and hands and tiny little fingers coming out of them. Kind of like I was doing with that uh, ogre. All right, that'll do there. I'm trying to now think of a gag to go with this other than just the Umber Hulk looking weird doing the cooking. I think the last time I had Umber Hulk on the show was actually for the Valentine's Day special. We had the two Umber Hulk having a romantic dinner. Um, Here we go. Oh, I'm gonna have a apron. What's the word I'm looking for? Apron. Amy says, my mom lived in Binghamton for a bit while doing a college internship. Got to go and visit her there when I was still. Yes, well, there you go. See, another connection we have. Yeah, I went to university at Binghamton. Well, it's now Binghamton University. It was the State University of New York at Binghamton when I went there. It was SUNY Binghamton. All right, so that's. I don't need to do any more sketches than that. Let's get in here and put some lines in. We've got our Umber Hulk, big. So let's say they've got two sets of eyes. One are these very large segmented bug's eyes, and the others are kind of normal eyes that are set a little lower. They're weird creatures. Maybe that's why I like them so much, because they're very weird creatures. Okay, that looks good now. We've got a big mandibles that just kind of come out the sides. I don't know what have these. They really don't seem to serve any purpose for them, but they always have them. Maybe. I know. I said a maybe and then didn't follow up. What does he mean? Maybe what? Is he going to tell us? Yeah, actually no. I'm going to leave that one hanging. This is part of my thought process. Looking good. Now I'm going to come here again. I said this already twice tonight, but start with a line you're confident in. Not that every time you move to a new section of the drawing, start with the part of it that you're confident in. You have the most confidence in. So I was going to move over here, and I had the best confidence in that big arm chunk and getting that right, building off that. Very often when I'm doing drawings of humanoid figures, in order to get the whole anatomy right, I start with the shape of the thing. So I would want to start with the arm from the shoulder down because I've got to build it right in order for it to feel right. But when you're talking about something as weird as an Umber Hulk, you can get away with a lot of things that wouldn't work in humanoid characters. And you don't have to be quite so exact with some of the other anatomical details. All right. So here, I think now I'm going to come over to our barbecue. I don't know if you noticed, maybe it's a good time to point out again how I'm working with rough shapes, right? That barbecue is made up of half circle, little tube or straight line, and another half circle. Right? The same way I might draw a chalice or a wine glass. You work with these simple shapes, and you build the things you're drawing out of them that allows you to get in and get started and build things out of rough shapes and then modify them as necessary. And a lot of it is just practice. It says she lived in Endicott, which is Endicott is was. I tell you what, Dave Lemon, who is here, also lived in Endicott. Endicott was home to IBM, very very big IBM plant, and not just plant, but they were a big employer, a lot going on. And Endicott was where all that happened. I was at the university, so I lived in Vestal for quite a while. And when I moved off campus, I was living in actually the city of Binghamton. But we as a group spent a lot of time in Johnson City. The Binghamton area is known as the Triple Cities. There's Endicott, Johnson City, and Binghamton, and Vestal is a little town area where it's the university section, really. Although the people who live in Vestal would kind of be shocked to hear me referring to their town as the university section. But in Johnson City was a used game and bookstore, or used book and comics and game store. It's probably a better way to say that. Called Fat Cat Books, and we used to spend a lot of time there. And in fact, weirdly enough, it turns out to be a place that a lot of people that wound up working in the game industry and comics industry now, there are a good number of people who got their introductions to games or spent a lot of time and money at Fat Cat Books. I worked with several people at TSR and Wizards of the Coast who had been there, and a couple of whom who had worked at Fat Cat Books. So, are we looking here? Looking all right. And what I'm going to have on here is don't confuse the cook. And that goes along with the fact that Umber Hulks have confusion as their main ability, or one of their main abilities. Okay. That's looking okay. Let's turn off the sketch layer so I can see what I've got, where I might want to add a little more detail before I go in. Now, this is a weirdly shaped creature So it may take adding the color for all of it to become clear. I am seeing this and knowing what I want to do with the color, and that helps. Actually, I'll tell you about a drawing I did recently for that project that I can't tell you about, where I had the way it often works when you're doing art for a living is you get an assignment to do a drawing, and you need to do a sketch, a kind of like those blue lines, the blue lines that I showed you earlier, that I do all the time here, and the person who's hired you looks at that and approves them before you go back and do the finished work, and that saves you from having to spend hours doing and redoing the same drawing. But there are times when the sketch, what's going on is complicated, and the sketch just looks like a mess. It's not easy to read. Or when you finish a line drawing, and there's just so many things happening, like this arm is happening right over the weird waist, which is happening over the hips and the legs, and it's a little easy to get confused over what's happening there. But when it's finished, it should be clear. Right? That's certainly my job as the artist, to make the finished piece read clearly. So I had a piece recently that I was doing that I turned it over and it got approved, but it came back with the comment that the people that were approving it weren't sure, but everything else I'd done had worked so well they were going to trust me. And as I said, when all was said and done, after I applied the color, I put the inks on, and I could see that it was still a mess. If I'd sent them the inks to approve, they still would have said, "We don't understand what's happening here." But after I put the colors on, it was 100% clear, and I sent it into them, and it was very gratifying to me. And that's, oh well, we were sure you were going to pull it out. We just had to say something. All right, so our Umber Hulk, Umber, being a brownish color, you should not be surprised that they are mostly kind of brownish. So I'm going to pick a few different colors. Now this is going to go similar to how I do armor. Those of you who've watched for a while will know that when am I doing this? Yeah, I'm doing it at the right level. Okay, good. I often say, I've talked you through that, where I pick 3 different colors of blue, and I use them to represent basically the texture or hardness, right? The parts of the armor which are the hardest, the chest plates and the greaves on the shoulders and the knee pads will be one color, and that will be the color I use for things that have that texture or that hardness. And then I will use a different color, slightly lighter color, for the things that are more a little softer. The shirt, a chainmail shirt, and then something even lighter for the parts that are very bendy, like the arm coverings and the leg coverings. And in the end, that helps give a little bit of color differentiation on the armor, so it's not just that one big flat gray, and B, it helps to it gives information even if the viewer doesn't understand that I'm giving them that information. They just absorb it. Alright, so here again. So I've got that as the main color for our Umber Hulk, but I'm going to come and I'm going to get a distinctly different brown and use that for, again, the bendy parts, the legs and the arms and the fingers. The toes. And that, maybe I'll make the fingers and toes even darker. And let's say, suddenly I only need 2 colors, and I probably could have gotten away with that, but here we go. I'm going to make those big bug eyes orange, and I'm going to make the little eyes red. And the chef's hat is white, but again, as I've often said, you can change the feeling of the white just by what color you're adding some shading on. Suddenly, it doesn't look pure white, even though most of that hat is still just white. It's just as white as it ever was, except for those lines, but now the whole thing just feels a different, slightly different color. Let's come here. I'm going to make a faux black, a dark blue black, and use that for my most of the barbecue. I'm going to make both of the half circle parts. Again, I'm going to use that same thinking. Those are going to feel similar, and I'm going to make a darker one, darker than that. But I'm going to use that red there just to give it a stripe. Let's see. Kind of a browny red for the meat on the grill. And a golden color for the coals that we're going to spot with some red. Like that. Ooh, here we go. I also need to come up with a slightly different version of this black for the inside. Usually I would do that darker, but it's got the fire in there, so it's a little lighter. That's casting some light. Some light, I said, not sunlight. Some light. And we'll do this. The different brown again. And let's look at, and then maybe purplish, pinkish purplish for the apron. It's twice. Both times I wanted to say apron, I just couldn't come up with a word. It fled from my mind. Hello, Lala. Thank you for joining us. All right, so now we're going to do some quick shading to wrap this one up. I think most of this is going to go on the hard areas. I think we need a lot of shading on the fingers or the arms. Again, you see I'm picking the underside and one other areas where it looks like there might be a little bit of shadow and just adding a quick little line. There we go. And we've got ourselves Oh, let's do a little shading with the pink. Here's another one, that thing that comes up a lot. I often get to the end of a drawing and think, oh, those colors are just a little more intense than I wanted them to be. Coloring quickly. I'll admit it, this happens when I'm working on my professional stuff. Not infrequently, but it happens a lot when I'm working very quickly. So I pick a color and I like the color and I put it down, and it's not until we're done that I look at it and I say, those are great, but that color is so strong, it's really making it hard to see the details. And I think that's going on here. But what I can do here is drop the opacity, maybe 10 or 15%. See how that's falling back? That colors are getting less, and the lines are becoming a little easier to read. If I drop it too much, the colors get washed out, and that's no good. But here in the 10 to 15, 20%, I think, yeah, that looks a lot easier to view. The colors are just lighter versions of themselves. And this is what it looked like before. Very strong, colors fighting with the lines. I'm going to drop this back to 20% down on the opacity. And it looks good. So let's grab our inking brush one more time, and again, put my little stand there at the bottom, and we have ourselves an Umber Hulk barbecue grilling. Ba-doop-boop-boo. So I see a lot of chats going on, and I think that's because Lala is here, and everyone loves Lala. It's so good to see you. All right, so let me just scroll back a bit and see what's going on. Dave Lemon says we practically lived there. He's talking about Fat Cat Books with Ed Stark, who's a big game designer and author that I worked with, and Bill Olmsdahl, who sadly we lost a couple of years ago, and me and Dave Lemon and Brian Sean Perry, Fish Boy, we called him. Sorry, Sean, I'm letting the secret out. And there's a cartoonist who does work with Marvel called Chris Giarusso, who followed on after us as someone who spent a lot of time at Fat Cat Books. It was a hell of a store. It was a really good store. I think it's still there. The owner, it's changed ownership a couple of times now. I understand that it still is a great store. I'm no way besmirching the current Fat Cat Books. I am just living in the reverie of the past. And what a great... I have not found many... Really what I'm saying is I haven't found many other game stores and bookstores that I loved as much as I loved Fat Cat. All right, so let's see what's gotten on. My husband pulled out 78 Monster Manual to show me the Umber Hulk. It's a well-loved book. You know what? Anyone that has it, yes, it is. Everyone loves their Monster Manual. I don't know if this story is the right venue for telling it. Well, let me go through this, and I'll start to tell it as I'm drawing the next one. Lala comes in. Hellos all around. Lala says, I'm taking your suggestions on coloring stamp flowers for my card projects, and it's so much easier. I'm so glad I could help. And your stuff, if you guys have not seen Lala, who is here under Mommy Guide Inc. As her YouTube channel, you should check her out. She has a craft and arts channel, and she does great videos, and definitely go check her out. Amy's going to try it too. Okay, fingers crossed that it works for everyone, and I seem like a genius. If not, blame me. It's my fault. Happy 4th of July. Thank you. Yes. Happy 4th of July on the 2nd of July. I'm just scrolling to get caught up here. Stan, will there be a time when instead of D&D inspired characters, use cartoon people? You know what? I've thought, this is a good question. I went to D&D, A, because it's a good theme to pull things from, and B, because it ties in with the title, Random Encounters. Just makes a good theme. But I have started to bring in more things like Star Wars and Star Trek references, and uh, um, so I don't know. Maybe I should see if I'm doing other characters or other just people, and maybe dropping them into D&D situations instead of dropping D&D characters into normal situations like I generally do. Or maybe just not let the D&D go for a while. Maybe just do some sci-fi or do just general stuff. That is a fine idea that let's say it kind of rolls around in my head. I don't have any plans, but well worth doing. But you know what? When I do, like when I go, Lala has invited me to be on her show in the past, and I think I'm going to be doing it sometime in the month of July. And yeah, I don't bring the D&D stuff in there, so we certainly can do that with you, and could have an episode or two here where we just kind of set the D&D aside for a second. Just put it over here while we continue on a different vein. Okay. Random Oddity says, "Is this Procreate?" Yes, this is Procreate. As I say at the top of every show, I don't feel bad that you didn't know that because you weren't here. I do all of my drawing on an Apple iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil, and the app is Procreate. None of this is sponsored. I do that because I actually love them and highly encourage them. So yes, this is Procreate. So you ever color on separate layers so you can change the opacity of one color only? I do. In fact, I do a lot of coloring on separate layers, just not when I'm doing something this quickly. Although sometimes there are times when I have here on the show where I want to get, particularly if there's a foreground and a background. I have done some coloring in layers, but with the goal here being to do it quickly and try and get 3 drawings done in about an hour and a half. Plus this fun time hanging out and chatting. I don't use layers. I use layers in that I put the lines and the colors on separate layers, but I don't usually here dive into separate color layers. But in my usual work, in my when I'm doing something with an eye towards having the best finished product possible, I use a lot of different layers. Amy has to go to dinner. Catch it on replay. Bye, Amy. Thank you for stopping by. Hopefully you will come back and see the answers I gave after you left. Let's see. So lots. Looks like I'm caught up. One more drawing. I don't know what it is. I mean, I've been doing the show for 2 years. Maybe it's just that it's a Tuesday, and I didn't have all week to get excited. I'm feeling kind of like this is. I'm winded. I'm winded from doing 2 drawings. Maybe I'm babbling. I don't know. All right. Close out round 2. Open up round 3. Turn on the sketch layer. Turn on our random encounters, and we will now roll one more encounter. So let's come back to the dice, and we're going to roll it one more time. Here we go. Once or twice, a third time. 2 is our who. I think we already had. We may have a repeat. We'll see. We're good. 2 is our who, and 2 is our what? I know we've got some repeats going on here. What is that? 2 and 2 is an ogre barbecue. Yeah, we're not doing an ogre barbecue. So we're gonna do. I'll leave it to the chat to be able to pick. We've got what's left on here. We've got Tortle or Myconid. Tortle, as it might sound, is a turtle creature. It's a, a, a turtle man, as it were. And a Myconid is a giant mushroom person. And what we've got? We've got the Spirit of 76 and signing the Declaration of Independence. Or if there's something else you can think of that is 4th of July themed, let me have it. 3 and 4. So a Tortle signing the Declaration of Independence is what Lala is voting for. Anyone else have any thoughts? Because that works. That works fine. Tortle signing the Declaration. 3 and 3. Tortle Statue of Liberty. Lala, did you miss the Statue of Liberty? We did the Statue of Liberty earlier. Let me show you. Let me just show you while we're thinking about this. I'll turn that off. And our first drawing was an ogre Statue of Liberty. How about all 4 as the Spirit of 76? Well, Spirit of 76 only has 3, but that's I like that idea. So Tortle's gonna be our feature character, but we're gonna go with the Spirit of 76 and the Tortle and the Myconid and one more. That's what we'll do. All right. Lala, there's no need to apologize for being late. All right. For those of you who don't know, like Lala probably doesn't know, when I say Spirit of 76, that's a specific painting image, and it's one that's very very well known, used a lot. It is 3. It was of the Revolutionary War. There's 3 soldiers walking side by side. One of them is playing. One is a drummer. One of them is carrying the flag, and one of them is playing a fife. That's the Spirit of 76. Gnome says Dale. Gnome. All right, so we'll put a gnome in there. Okay, let's see now. I think that our which one will be which? That's what I'm thinking about right now. Drums. So let's start here with the drums. And is that where we put the gnome? We put the gnome back here. With the drums as big as the gnome. And then we could, let me erase this because that's kind of getting in the way. And we could have maybe an ogre here carrying the flag. And the flag, I was going to say of course, but for those who don't know, the original U.S. flag only had 13 stars and stripes, so it was a field. It's a solid field of blue with a circle. Yeah, solid field of blue with a circle of 13 stars. Alright, I'm going to grab that gnome and move him for a second so I can figure out. Here's where doing things in different layers would help me. So I'm going to move the gnome off for a second so I can figure out the ogre a little better. Okay, I'm going to actually grab the ogre. Maybe I will do these on separate layers and then I can move them around a bit. Hello, Adam. And on the fife, we're going to have, we started this off with a tortle. So we're going to have a tortle. On the fife. You know, I always have a very hard time figuring out tricorn hats and making them work right. Alright, so that's how that's going to work. I tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to put these on separate layers, and that'll make it easier for me. So, here's a little layer demonstration. Right now, you can see they're all on one sketch layer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab our tortle, and I'm going to pull up a screen here, and you see it says cut and paste. I'm going to click cut and paste. And that has now taken that and put it on a separate layer. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the ogre. I'm going to grab that ogre. Grab the ogre. Come on, grab the ogre. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. That's why. Grab the ogre, and then I'm also going to cut and paste the ogre. And now the ogre is on its own separate layer. I could turn off the ogre and the tortle. And now on this layer, this bottom layer is just the gnome. So that makes it so much easier. So I can now move them around and position them the way I want. So let's start with the ogre. Since he's the biggest, we're going to go to the ogre's level. I'm going to grab him and put him here. Let me turn the other two off. I'm going to put him there in the center. He is going to be the center of our drawing. And then I'm going to come over and grab the tortle, who's now way too small. But thankfully I can grab him and make him bigger and position him where I want him to. Oh, don't do that. Grab him, make him bigger, to the right size relative to the ogre and put him there. Move him around just a little bit so that they overlap, but not completely. And then I'll turn on our little gnome, grab him, move him down here. He can get a little bigger. Oh, you know what I really don't like about this is what I like. One of the things, let's zoom in. I like about the gnome is how at the back of the head shape, we get the gnomishness. I'm going to change colors, so I'm going to draw here. Looking at this part, right? If we have that hiding behind the ogre, it's not going to seem quite as gnomish. So I guess I'm going to have to come here and make sure that I change it around, because in the way these guys are laid out, in order to be back there, the right size, and then to be a group, part of his head's got to be hidden. All right, there we go. Now, I could do this two different ways. I could ink the whole thing as one layer, and so therefore I wouldn't draw. Again, I'm going to switch colors so I can show you. So if I'm going to draw our ogre, once I do that, I'm not going to draw this part of the gnome, but I can wind up with a single layer where the drawing would be would just have a drawing like I would on a piece of paper. Or I could, just like we're doing here, I could draw the gnome and then draw the ogre and then draw the tortle, and then each one would be complete. I could continue to move them around. I could also use them individually. And this is something I do all the time. I do all the time. I will do a separate layer for a character and draw the complete character, even parts that you'll never see in the finished drawing, because then I can lift that character up and use them somewhere else. Use them in another drawing or make a sticker out of them. Like here, I could make a sticker out of just this gnome. He might be a fun little sticker to have, but we're not going to see all of him if I only draw everything on one layer. Is that making sense? I think I'm beginning to feel like I'm speaking to myself rather than speaking to you, which is not a good way to do instruction. All right, I think, well, for the sake of brevity, I will draw them all on one layer. That speed is of the essence here. I don't have to be super fast, but if I was going to draw them all, that would add a lot of extra time to show that, you know, it's just supposed to be a quick entertainment for everyone. But I'm doing more and more streams of me drawing, so I'll try to remember to plan out and announce ahead of time when I'm going to be doing one with multiple characters, and you can see how that'll work out. All right. In the meantime, let's get on here with our ogre carrying the flag. Now here again, you see I'm not going to finish that back part of the ogre because I can see that he's going to be covered by the Tortle. Now this guy drawing the flag in the original painting has a bandage. He's been wounded. He's got a bloody bandage over his across his brow. So I'm going to give our ogre bandage on his head. There we go. And now we'll come over here to our Tortle. Again, not going to be the world's most accurate tricorn hat. But that's all right. We're doing this for fun. We're not doing this to be perfect. And I think this is fun. Got our Tortle. With his shell. Look at all that. I drew him clearly supposed to be playing the pipe, but I forgot to put the pipe in. Oh, come on. There we go. And then we'll come back over here. No, that's not good. For our gnome, I've pointed this out before, but one of the real advantages here with Procreate is that if I need a circle or even an oval like that, I can draw a rough approximation and the program will finish it for me. And the guy who's here playing the drums is a kid in the original painting. So we're going to have our happy little gnome. With his drumsticks. And I know I've got to add a little extra detail. Not a lot, but a little extra detail for the drum to read right. And you can see here that I drew the whole of the gnome's head, so I knew where everything went, but all that part over there on the right doesn't need to be drawn. Not in the final version. If I did this, as I was talking about before, I would finish it, and then we would have a complete gnome. For use somewhere else. And there are so many uses for a complete gnome. All right, that's looking good. And I've got to finish up here with our flag. Our flag was still there, waiting for me to draw it. Alright, again, we're going to put the field in. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to draw the stars on that field. I'll just do that in color. Looking pretty good. Oh, Lala's got to go. Thank you for stopping by, Lala. Always good to see you. Have a good day. Let me know. Drop me a note if you've got your schedule going for July and you think that I could be of any help to you. I am, of course, always glad to be of help. All right, so almost done here. I'm just noticing that that line is not looking right. There we go. And let's turn off the sketches and see what we've got. So now all these, I've got to turn off 3 sketches because we had 3 sketch layers. But here I've got to come in and add a few little extra bits. I can see that the details aren't quite playing out the way I want them to. And little place here and there where it got sloppy. Places where I know color is going to do the work for me. Forgot to give tusks to our ogre. Alright. I think that is a fine set of line drawings for our piece here. Let's add some color and we will wrap this up. Ogre looks like a sumo. I wonder why. Well, yeah, there's something to that. You know what? Any big guy in a loincloth kind of looks like a sumo Tori. Okay, so we'll go to the colors layer and go to the gloaming brush again. We'll come back to that pale yellow or a pale yellow that I did for the ogre before. You know what? I'm going to make the brush bigger for the belly so we can get it. You can if you're covering large areas, it's easier to do it with a larger brush. Or really, it's easier to make a mistake if you try and cover a large area with a lot of coloring with a smaller brush. So it's very nice here in the digital world, again, to be able to just adjust the size of my brush up and down without really having to go through the trouble of switching brushes and washing one off and etc., etc. Okay, I'm going to get our gnome in here. I could use a little bit darker for the boot. It's a boot, right? And then maybe pink hair for the gnome? A little brighter than that. The drum. Drumsticks. Oh, I think we want to give our gnome some kind of blue-gray eyes. And then our turtle, which I'm going to use a pale orange for the underside of his shell. And a dark green for the outer side of the shell. And an even darker green for that stripe down connecting the two. And then I'm going to use a different green. I'm going to use a different sort of green here for his turtley flesh. An orangey, metallic, coppery color for the fife. That's looking good. Once again, come back and make that bigger. Again, I want to cover this area easily so that the wiggles of my drawing don't distract from what I'm going to do there. And no, actually got the number of stripes the same on the top and bottom. Neither one of them is correct, mind you, historically, but alright, here I'm going to come back to my inking brush so I can put the circle of stars there. If I did that with a gloaming, we'd get that same kind of soft color white, which would see through. The blue would show through it. So I want to make sure it's strong, so I'm doing this with the inking brush. Then back to my gloaming, because it's time to add a little bit of shading, and then we can have reached the finish line. And you see, picking the underside of the shapes for the faux shadows. Things that are in the back also get darker. Do the same for our turtle friend here. Go. Maybe the hat. The hat could use some little help. Again, because I didn't do a great job of making it look like a tricorn hat. Those little shadings, just like with everything else, give it a little extra shape, a little feeling of texture. And you don't have to go far to just let your viewer's mind say, oh, I get what he's doing there, and then it'll fill in the correct details, even if I didn't get them quite so correct. Historically, that is. Almost done. You know what I didn't do was give any color at all to the flagpole. There we go. Oh, we got to put a little bit of blood on the bandage. That's important. All right, I like that. That's looking pretty good. So we'll go back to my inking brush and back to our lines layer. And again, I'll just put my little stand on it because we've got the Spirit of 76 Random Encounter style. Little flat, but you know what I'm not is a professional whistler. All right, hold on a sec while I have another little sip. That was a fun evening of 4th of July celebrating, doodling, improv, cartooning fun. Or so I thought. We did, of course, the Spirit of 76 with a whole bunch of different kinds of characters. We did an Umber Hulk barbecue grilling here for the July 4th weekend. And we had an Ogre Statue of Liberty. Those were our 3 randomly generated prompts, and those are our 3 drawings. I want to thank everyone who showed up here today for a special Tuesday night edition of the show. Dale and Dave. Adam was here, may still be here. He was here for a while. Lala was here for quite a while. So nice to see you again. Random Oddities, I'm not sure who that was, but it's nice to see another bit of randomness added to the show. We had Chris Andro, and Amy was here, and Linnea was here while she was on her break, and Dale Donovan, I said Dale already, Amy Ulan, yes, It's who else was here? I'm just scrolling back to see Claudio. Oh, Claudio! I totally missed Claudio. Wow. Oh, Claudio, if you watch this again and get to the end, I'm sorry. I didn't see you and say hi. Very glad to see you. Thank you for dropping in, my friend. Um, Cindy was here. Cindy Robertson, thank you for coming in. Always a pleasure to see you. And Ogre's Den stopped in at the beginning, and that was very nice. Becky was here at the beginning. What a fun crew! I feel I feel I feel proud to be a cartooning American. Yeah. So thank you everyone for showing up. Oh, you know what? While I'm here, I have something I'd like to talk to you about. I mean, we do all these drawings, and we like them. We like them fine. Uh, there are a lot of other things I do drawings for. One of which, if you look at my Facebook account or my Instagram account, you'll often see little drawings with the words "Damn it, Owen" in the lower part of the drawing. And these are drawings that have been inspired by my friend and colleague Owen K.C. Stevens. When he makes a post on one of his social media of something that clicks into my brain, I get an idea for a cartoon, and I just have to draw it right away. And over the years, I've amassed quite a number of these. Now, Owen, one of the nicest guys I've ever known, one of the nicest guys in the gaming industry. Ask almost anyone in the gaming industry, they'll tell you the same. And Owen had cancer diagnosis about a year and a half ago, and he has been fighting that, and thankfully is doing quite well. However, that has a very strong monetary downside to it, and so we've done a lot of different things to try and raise some money for him, and one of them, which is going to start this week on Friday the 5th, is a Kickstarter for a book collecting the Damn It Owen cartoons. It's going to be a book called Damn It Owen, Cartoons That Refuse to Not Be Drawn. These are all of the Damn It Owen drawings I've done over the years. My cartoons based on Owen's ideas. It's a lot of fun. Go to the Kickstarter. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't remember what the pricing is going to be. The Kickstarter, of course, will give you all that information. But if you just, I don't have a link for it. But if you Google or do a web search for "Damn It Owen Kickstarter," it should take you right there. And if that doesn't work, come back to my other social media, and I will be promoting the heck out of it as we go along. So we're starting off with all of the Damn It Owen drawings. There's about 50 or 60 of them. But there are a bunch of other drawings that I've done together with Owen in the same vein. And as we go with stretch goals, we're going to be adding those in too. So right now, I'd say it's a nice little book of cartoons, but it's going to more than double in size if we can knock through a few stretch goals with all the other cartoons. So it's going to be a big book of Stan cartoons. If you're having fun at this show, I know you'll have fun with the book. Please go and check it out. And again, the funds, half or a little over half of the money is going to go directly to helping Owen with his medical debt. I will get some. I'm not going to. I will get some of that too. The reason we're doing this now, the reason we're putting this book together, is to help raise some funding to help Owen with his medical situation. So please check this out. Do a web search for "Damn It Owen Kickstarter," and you should find it. That will start this Friday, July 5th, and I believe it runs for most, if not the rest, of the month of July. So I'll be talking about it again. In the meanwhile, thank you all again, everyone. I appreciate you showing up. We've had a whole bunch of folks watching live. I appreciate you showing up. If you're watching on replay, I hope one of these weeks you can come and join us live and get in the chat. I would love to meet you. Leave me a message down below. Let me know which of the drawings you found most amusing. Or if you have an idea for a drawing you'd like to see me do in a future show, put that down there too. I'll respond. I do. I respond to just about every comment that comes in. So put me to the test. Give me something to do. Have a good 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to everyone. I will be back. I will be back. Sometimes I talk so quickly my lips can't keep up with me. I will be back next Thursday with another episode of Random Encounters Improv Cartooning. Hope you can join me then.